high-profile case against Karmelo Anthony in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf during a Frisco track meet is heading to trial next week. The emotionally charged case shook Collin County, led to protests, threats, and doxing calls against both families and even a judge in the case. Maria Guerrero looks ahead to the trial and how we got here.
Parents rushed to Kirkendall Stadium on a rainy April morning in 2025.
She witnessed some things and we just finished talking to the police.
Not yet realizing the devastating details to come. The victim, 17-year-old Austin Metcalf.
The sad part about it is he died in his brother's arms. They were twins, identical twins.
Fatally stabbed in the chest, prosecutors say, by Karmelo Anthony, also 17 at the time. By all accounts, the two did not know each other. The confrontation reportedly over Anthony, a Centennial student, sitting under Metcalf's Memorial School team tent and told to leave by Metcalf. Things turned physical, according to witnesses, even after Anthony reached inside his bag and threatened, "Touch me and see what happens." Jurors will likely see surveillance video showing only a burst of action at a distance. Anthony running away after the stabbing before being caught and allegedly confessing. They'll likely see the knife covered at the scene with a blue tarp. Mike Howard is Anthony's defense attorney.
The prosecution will not be able to rule out the reasonable doubt that Karmelo Anthony may have acted in self-defense.
And I think in most self-defense cases, the dispute is regarding the reasonableness of the fear.
We asked defense attorney Russell Wilson, not involved in the upcoming murder trial, for insight.
What are the biggest questions that have not yet been answered that could determine the outcome of the trial?
The exact details of what occurred immediately prior to, during, and after the incident.
How is this self-defense?
His $1 million bond significantly lowered. The now 19-year-old faces up to life in prison. His parents went public with concerns for their safety.
I don't know why we're being targeted and discriminated against before a fair trial.
Veteran prosecutor Bill Werski will seek a murder conviction. Judge John Roach not allowing cameras or audio inside.
I'm personally in favor of more open courtrooms because society needs to know what happens in a courtroom.
Maria Guerrero, NBC5.
I agree. And I'm upset that cameras and audio equipment are not going to be allowed to be used in this case. Will not be an open courtroom. There's a major gag order, and I'm going to do my best to update you guys throughout the remainder of this trial. This has been a case that I've been actually, closely watching behind the scenes. It's funny, every couple of months I would turn to Nan when we're having a conversation. I said, I got to get on this Karmelo Anthony case, this Austin Metcalf case. This is a case that's, been in the media. It had very strong reaction immediately when it came out. And, I want to get into it tonight. So what I want to do here tonight is establish a timeline. We're going to go through the arrest report, and we'll share some videos to get kind of a basic intro into this case. And then what I want to do is over this weekend, do like another 2 parts to this, get into some of the other things that have gone on in this case, and hopefully clarify a lot of the things that are going on. So let's do this. Well, welcome in, everybody. I am back. I actually got really sick on Sunday. I went out, excuse me. I went out shopping for a brand new bed on Sunday. Went over, made a purchase, came home, and then later on that afternoon, I just my stomach didn't feel well. It was kind of like doing the twisty turny thing. And then Sunday into Monday, it just progressively gotten worse. And then Monday, I was just laid out, really, really laid out. I was basically in bed from Monday through pretty much today, but I started feeling a lot better, a little bit yesterday. And then today I've started feeling more myself. Still have some residual stuff going on, but it's going around. It is definitely going around. There's definitely a virus going around. Is my internet look like crap right now? Because I'm looking like up at my screen and it looks like it's lagging bad. Let's check. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it is lagging bad. What is going on? How's the signal look? Sounds like, yeah, I think it was norovirus. Let me just check a few things here before we get into the timeline. Just want to make sure I'm up and running. It looks fuzzy. All right, not good. Let's see. I've been having some issues with my internet lately too. Let's see. Hang on. See if I can fix this. All right, that should be a little better. Interesting. Sucks. You are fuzzy. Okay. Damn. I want to fix this. It might be a StreamYard thing too. Crap. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it'll iron itself out, but yeah, sorry about that. Still fuzzy, sound good to me. Yeah, sound good. I just don't think it's looking too good. All right, anyway, so this is from Frisco, not San Francisco, Frisco, Texas. This happened back on April 2nd, 2025. I want to get into this timeline and give you guys a breakdown of the case, but what I'll do is first read. You don't look fuzzy to me, you sound fine. Okay, maybe it's ironed itself out. I don't know. But yesterday, I wrote something on LTL Media News. You can check it out over here. It's the Karmelo Anthony case. We must remember to follow the evidence, not the noise. And I figured, when I was looking at this case, that's when we've kind of seen a lot of this. And, I just feel like we have to be very responsible in these types of cases where, following the evidence through what happened in this case, I think is going to paint the clearest picture. We know that mainstream media, other media outlets are going to create a lot of noise during these type of things. And why is that? Well, because you have a young man that was a white kid, and you have a man that a young man or a young boy, because these guys are teenagers. It's tragic. I mean, they're both 17-year-old kids, and I say kids because I'm older, that have pretty much ruined their lives. And we have one young man that is dead. We have another young man that is facing possible prison time for the rest of his life. And it's awful. And the blowback to that just really, shreds a community and shreds society. And this is what you're going to see in a lot of this too, is because the potential suspect is a black individual. And, a lot of this in the media has been, pinned against each other about this black and white issue. And we can't go into these things like this. We have to look at the facts of this case. So yesterday I wrote this on LTL Media News. We'll read through it and then we'll get into this timeline. So the Karmelo Anthony case, we must remember to follow the evidence and not the noise. On June 1st, the trial of Karmelo Anthony is set to begin in a case that has already moved far beyond the original facts. Anthony remains out on bond under strict conditions while he awaits trial, but the case itself has already become a national hot plate subject. What started as a deadly altercation between two teenagers at a Texas high school track meet has turned into a much larger debate over self-defense, race, social media, misinformation, and crowdfunding. This case is already getting a lot of attention because the racial component surrounding it, but we have to be responsible enough to not reduce it to a black versus white issue. At the end of the day, the case needs to be judged on the facts, the evidence, and the witness testimony, and the law, not by social media outrage, political narratives, and racial division. And that's how I'm going to cover this case, because this is the way this case should be covered. So we'll go on here. At the center of all this were two families whose lives have changed forever. On April 2nd, 2025, 17-year-old Austin Metcalf was fatally stabbed during a track meet at David Kirkendall, I think that's how you say it, stadium in Frisco, Texas. Another 17-year-old, Karmelo Anthony, was arrested at the scene and later charged with first-degree murder. While Anthony has admitted to the stabbing itself, he has pled not guilty and maintains that he acted in self-defense. According to investigators, the incident reportedly began over a dispute involving seating under one of the team's tents at the event. Witness accounts describe a verbal confrontation. Anthony allegedly made a statement, "Touch me and see what happens." And this, you'll see this in the arrest report I'm kind of pointing out over here. We'll get to that. That turned physical before Anthony allegedly pulled a knife and stabbed Metcalf once in the chest, actually into his heart. Austin later died from that wound. And honestly, this is where the case becomes emotionally difficult for a lot of people. This wasn't some long-running feud. This wasn't some organized crime situation. This was a high school student sporting event. Parents were there, students were there, teammates were there. In 1 minute, these kids were at track meet, and the next minute, one teenager is dead. Another teenager is facing a murder charge that could impact the rest of his life. So why does this case hit so many people so hard? But legally speaking, the case is going to come down to one major issue, and that is self-defense. Under Texas law, deadly force can be justified if someone reasonably believes they are in immediate danger or serious bodily injury or death. The defense is expected to argue that Anthony feared serious harm during the confrontation and reacted in that moment. Prosecutors, however, likely are going to argue what happened under the tent did not justify use of deadly force. And here's where it becomes a major uphill battle for the defense. And this is my opinion. From what has been publicly reported so far, prosecutors will likely argue that this started a dispute between teenagers, escalated into a fatal stabbing. They are going to focus primarily whether pulling a knife in use of deadly force was reasonably responsible to treat Anthony says he faced. The threat that Anthony says he faced, sorry. One of the biggest questions heading into the trial is going to be witness testimony. And I strongly believe that's what's going to play into this, because I did hear there is a video of the incident, but it's very, very fuzzy. It only captures the last couple of moments of where Anthony is running from the tent. You don't actually see the attack on camera. I think witness statements are going to be a major player in this. And I think Anthony's own words are going to be a major player in this. Who initiated, so going back to the article here, who initiated physical contact? How aggressive was the confrontation? Anthony truly feared of serious bodily injury. What did the people standing right there actually see? Those details matter. Another huge factor, whether there is a surveillance footage and additional video evidence, has not been publicly released. In this case, the video could completely shape how jurors view that confrontation. Again, doing a little bit more research today, what I just previously stated is what I have found. What really pushed this case into national headlines wasn't just the stabbing itself, it was everything that happened online afterwards. Almost immediately, social media turned this case into a political and racial background. Because Anthony is black and Metcalf is white, the case quickly became heavily polarized. Different groups started framing the case through their own political and racial narratives before most of the evidence was even publicly available. That created the perfect environment for misinformation. There were fake autopsy reports circulating online, fake rumors about toxicology, fake accounts pretending to be official, viral claims about donations, houses, and money. The amount of misinformation tied to this case became almost impossible to keep up with. The crowdfunding controversy also became a major part of the story. After Anthony's arrest, fundraising efforts for his legal defense reportedly raised hundreds of thousands of dollars that triggered enormous backlash, especially after viral claims surfaced, suggesting the family used donations to move into a luxury property. Later reports suggested many of those claims were exaggerated or false, but at that point, the internet had already decided what they wanted to believe. Meanwhile, Austin Metcalf's family has been yet to endure all of this while grieving the loss of their son. One of the more heartbreaking moments connected to this case came when Austin's twin brother accepted the, I say this all wrong all the time, I'm going to get that freaking word wrong, and I'm sorry. But it's basically after death diploma for him during graduation ceremonies in 2026. I always stutter on that word. I'm not going to get it out. That moment should remain and I literally practiced it before I went live too. I'm going to get this. I'm going to say this word, and I always get tripped up on it. That moment should remain, remind everyone that beneath all online arguments, political commentary, and social media fighting, excuse me, that there's still real tragedy involving two teenagers and two devastated families. Legally, Anthony is being tried as an adult under the Texas law because he was 17 at the time of the incident. However, because he's still a juvenile, there are constitutional limits on the sentencing he has been convicted. And I see other people get the word wrong. And when the case finally goes to trial this upcoming Monday, jury selection could be one of the biggest challenges. The publicity surrounding this case has been massive. Finding jurors in and out of Frisco that may not already form strong opinions may not be easy. At the end of the day, stripped of all politics, all race baiting, and all online outrage, and all the misinformation, this case comes down to one central question. Did Karmelo Anthony reasonably believe he needed to use deadly force in that moment? That is a question the jury will have to answer. Unfortunately, media access has been tightened, ordered by the judge. No video or audio will be allowed during the trial, something I personally disagree with. Court proceedings, especially in high-profile cases that generate significant public interest, should be as transparent and accessible as possible. Public trust in the justice system is strengthened when people are able to see and hear the process for themselves. And amen on that one. I completely agree. It looks like my video's ironed out a little bit up there. So let me go up to the chat. Pro to Musly. I don't know. I'm not going to get it. I literally practiced that for like 3 minutes before I went live. Karen said race shouldn't have nothing to do with this. Wrong is wrong, and no matter what color you are. And I completely agree. But you know how the mainstream media and all these kind of social media outlets try to, ramp this stuff up to race. We've got to follow the facts. We've got to look at the facts of this case. Let's see. Viper says, you're good now. Awesome. Transparency creates trust. I absolutely agree. Let's see. Natalie says, I'm surprised the kid wasn't filming it the entire time. Kids film everything nowadays, and we don't know. Maybe there were some videos. Maybe a video camera was pulled out. A video camera. Maybe a phone was pulled out and something was caught. Viper says, yes, I agree. We must wait for the trial, and I completely agree with that. And that's how we're going to handle the case here. We're going to follow the facts and the information, and we're going to follow the evidence in this case. And let's see, were there eyewitnesses? Yes, there were many eyewitnesses. Austin actually died in his twin brother's arms. And you're going to hear more about that as we get through that. Thank you, Viper. I appreciate that. And Karen's got a great question. What the hell was he doing with the knife at a track meet? And that's something that we will hopefully find out during this trial. Ruthie says, thank you, everyone, for joining up. Please smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you. All right. And Beth, thank you so much before the stream. If you're watching today or you're hanging out, you're becoming a new member. If you guys want to become a member, please do. And you can support me. I'm going to start a super chat goal. Just 5 super chats tonight. At the top, it can be any denomination. We'll run it for an hour. I'd appreciate getting to that goal if you guys can help me out. It helps support the channel and help keeps the lights on in the studio. All right, let's get into this presentation that I put together. It's a timeline, a basic timeline. We'll go through it. I have some videos to share, and we're also going to read through the rest report too and hear what Karmelo Anthony said in his own words as well too. If you guys are liking this, please make sure to smash the like button if you haven't done that. All right, so here we go. So we have the case that's causing division, and we're going to go into today Karmelo Anthony trial, the death of Austin Metcalf. And basically what you're going to get in this deck, it's going to follow the exact timeline, the structure, provide a background, April 2nd incident, public reaction, bond, indictment, court controls, and a trial preview. LTG kicking it off. Thank you so much. $5 super chat. Appreciate you. If you have Venmo, Cash App, and you want to do that, I have the link at the top. You can click there, send the Cash App or Venmo as well. I'm really excited to be here with you guys tonight. It's been a while. I feel like I've been off for too long, and it's nice to see some people in here taking in a new case, not not afraid to learn and go through this process and find out what's going on, outside of the Karen Reed cases. And I'm just looking for something here. Hang on. And get into some new cases. There are other cases I'm going to be following as well too, talking about. So thank you. All right. They both are. I know it's destroyed lives. It absolutely has destroyed lives. Not only just the two that are involved, but families and a community, that whole school. I was reading the communities, 235,000 people in and around that area. So we're going to get into what happened. The track meet in the tent dispute, the stabbing and the immediate aftermath, what happened next, the arrest, public attention, funeral bond, family statements, and fundraising. We have the trial preview, the indictment, the gag order, media restrictions. I'm not going to get that word. And the June 1st trial. And again, the theme of this is follow the evidence and not the noise. Kim, thank you so much. £5 kicking in to the super chat goal. I appreciate that. All right, let's get to the slide. All right, so here we go. So before April 2nd, Austin Metcalf was a 17-year-old student at Frisco Memorial High School in Frisco, Texas. Karmelo Anthony was also 17 and attended Frisco Centennial High School. And I believe that they were, from what I was reading, from different high schools. Both were present at Frisco IDS track meet at David, I think it's Kirkendall, I think I'm saying that right, stadium. This happened at a public school athletic event with students, athletes, coaches, parents, and school personnel around. So there were lots of witnesses in this. Okay, so the police and fire respond around 10 a.m. The David Kirkendall Stadium. Frisco police and fire responded to David Kirkendall Stadium located at 6900 block of Stadium Lane. Police said that the altercation between two students resulted in one student being stabbed. Police later identified the victim as Austin Metcalf and the suspect as Karmelo Anthony. RT saying life, possible parole after 40. Yeah, I couldn't be on this jury. It's going to be tough. Okay, so the dispute under the tent. Here we go. So April 2nd, the alleged confrontation. According to arrest report, we're going to read through that tonight. According to the arrest report, details reported by the AP and others, the confrontation reportedly began when Anthony was sitting under the tent belonging to Metcalf's team. A witness said Metcalf told Anthony to move. Anthony allegedly responded with a warning along the lines of, touch me and see what happens. Reports say Metcalf touched, pushed, or grabbed Anthony during the confrontation. Tina, thank you so much. Tina with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Said, thank you for covering this. Well, thank you for being here. This is a very important case. It's going to catch a lot of national, I think, worldwide attention when this kicks off on June 1st. So now we have the stabbing. April 2nd, single fatal wound. Anthony allegedly plunged a knife and stabbed Austin Metcalf once in the chest, and it was clear to his heart. That's what killed him. The single wound became fatal. Frisco police said life-saving efforts, including CPR and an administration of blood. Despite those efforts, Metcalf died. Hang on one second. Let me get a sip of water here. Okay, the immediate aftermath. After the stabbing, reported statements. Witness reportedly pointed Anthony out to the school resource officer. The officer said saw that Anthony was near the north end of the track and gave commands to keep his hands up. Anthony reportedly said he was protecting himself and that Metcalf had put his hands on them. Those statements may matter to both prosecution and the defense. So we have the arrest in charge, April 2nd, first-degree felony. Karmelo Anthony was taken into custody the same day. Frisco police said that there was no further threat to the public. Anthony was charged with the murder and a first-degree felony. At this point, the case moved from school tragedy into a criminal prosecution. By the way, Simon, I hope that your daughter is feeling well. I saw in the chat earlier that she's coming home soon, so that's good to hear. It's nice to see you here. Mary just showed up. Thank you, Mary. Nice. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being in the chat. So the public attention explodes. So we have April 3rd to April 7th, and that's 2025. Within days, the case became national news. Reports focused on Austin Metcalf's death and his twin brother Hunter being present afterward in Anthony's self-defense claim. By April 7, Frisco police were already warning about misinformation. Police warned a fake police chief account, this is so gross, and a supposed medical examiner's report that had not even been released yet. Okay, Austin Metcalf's funeral. We have April 12th, the family grief. Austin Metcalf's funeral service was held at Hope Fellowship, Frisco East. The family also planned a private burial afterwards. Donations were encouraged to to a scholarship in Austin's honor. And the moment brings story back to the human cost. We move on. Bond reduced in Anthony's release, and this caused major controversy. And we'll get more into this in part 2. I just want to stick to the basic timeline tonight and the basic facts to give you a rundown of the case so you can understand what's going on. But in part 2, most likely tomorrow night, we'll get more into this. So bond reduced in Anthony's release on April 14th. It started with a $1 million bond and went to a $250,000 bond. Anthony's initial bond was set at $1 million. A judge reduced the bond to $250,000. After the family posted bond, Anthony was released from jail and placed on house arrest. Reported conditions included an ankle monitor, adult supervision, no contact with Metcalf's family, weekly check-ins, and address updates if relocated. Now we have April 17th, Anthony's family, and I'm going to say it was a very bizarre press conference. Karmelo Anthony's mother, Kayla Haynes, spoke publicly for the first time at the press conference hosted by Next Generation Action Network. You're going to learn more about them. Tomorrow, the family addressed threats, misinformation, and claims surrounding the fundraiser. Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, showed up and was literally escorted out by police. And all he said, and again, we're going to get more into this tomorrow, on tomorrow part 2, all he said was he just wanted to be there to see what they had to say. And he already made claims and already made statements. He had already forgiven them, but just wanted to know what was going on and what they had to say. Jeff reportedly said he wanted to hear what was being said, did not plan to make a statement. Misinformation, threats, and the escalation. So April 17th through the 20th, now begins the online war. CBS Texas reported that fake details, a fake autopsy report, fake social media screenshots, and online rumors spread quickly. Law enforcement and CBS News found several viral claims to be fabricated. Both families reported had home addresses posted online and received threats. Not just threats, death threats. And that's how fucking crazy like this true crime world and community and bubble, if you want to say that, gets with people. And I even see this shit with like all just being in the creator circle as well too. People, making death threats against people, sending people to their house, fucking ruining people's lives, ruining their jobs. Like it's fucking childish and it's insane. It's childish and insane. Extra security was present at Austin Metcalf's funeral because of online posts. Now we skip ahead, April 2025. So we have fundraising controversy. We're going to talk a lot more about this tomorrow. By the time the press conference reported, said a Give, Send, Go fundraiser to Anthony had just raised about $458,762. His mother said that the family had not received the funds and had only recently been notified that withdrawals could begin. Supporters saw the fundraiser as a legal defense support. Critics saw it as rewarding someone accused of murder, while viral claims about homes, money, and relocation spread online. We go ahead. Now we go to June 24th, and this is 2025. Grand jury indictment. Collin County DA Greg Willis announced that the grand jury indicted Karmelo Sincere Anthony of first-degree murder. The charges relates to a stabbing death of Austin Metcalf, and the DA's office noted that punishment ranged from first-degree murder to Texas's 5 to 99 years or life plus a possible fine. The DA also emphasized that the arrest and indictment are not evidence of guilt, and that's something that we have to remember in this case as well too. All right, so the trial date is set July 9th. The trial date is set for June 1st. That's just in a couple of days. The first hearing was scheduled for 9 a.m., and the case will be set forth of Judge John Roach in the 269th District Court. The defense position remains that Anthony acted in self-defense while prosecutors move forward on first-degree murder. Gag order issued. And this is my biggest issue with this case. I think that there should be cameras allowed in every courtroom. I hate the gag order. I hate that nothing can be even just be recorded as audio and replayed after. We saw that in some cases, Karen Reed case. There was some, I think there was some instances of that, or they just turned off the camera when some of the kids testified in that case. And we heard, and actually, I'm sorry, no, there wasn't any audio of that, but I have to say that some of the cases we covered here on the channel, that they did do stuff like that, where maybe it wasn't broadcast live, but it was put out afterwards. And I apologize on that. So gag order issued 2025. Because of the massive public attention, online misinformation, and media coverage, the court issued a gag order sometime before trial. CBS later reported the gag order was connected to concerns over intense public interest. The goal was to protect the fair trial. And let's see, the limits what attorneys, parties, and witnesses say publicly before trial. Natalie says X doesn't care. They will get you for saying something stupid. Yet death threats and racism, violent remarks slide by, and I agree with that as well too. So court tightens media and scrutiny rules on April 2nd, 2026. Ahead of the trial, Judge John Roth imposed strict courtroom media and security rules. CBS Texas reported that only 9 media members would be allowed inside the courtroom at one time. So we're going to have to rely on their reporting and their updating. The Collin County Public Information Office would control credentials and seating. The order cited jury privacy, courtroom security, and Anthony's right to a fair trial. Austin's, I cannot say that word, at Memorial High School graduation. This is May 21st, 2026. Austin Metcalf's twin brother, Hunter, accepted Austin's, I'm not going to get this. I can't. I practiced it before the show. I just can't get it. I want to learn how to say that. Hang on. I'm going to let's get this right. Posthumous. Did I say it right? Posthumous. You know what I keep thinking? I keep thinking of what's that movie? There's a movie that's written like that. Prometheus. I keep thinking that it says Prometheus. Posthumous. You say it right? Posthumous. I think I said it right. People reported that Hunter did not speak publicly, citing the gag order connection in his pending case. This moment brings the case back to all human costs. So the scheduled trial, we have June 1st. Karmelo Anthony is scheduled to be tried on June 1st, 2026. Anthony is charged with first-degree murder. He's being tried an adult because under Texas criminal law, 17-year-olds are treated as an adult. The core issue serious that was this murder or legally justified as self-defense. Thank you. Nan is here, and I said this at the beginning of the show. I kept saying to Nan, like, I want to tackle this case. She can confirm. I've been saying this for a long time. And now that we've gotten closer to trial, I thought this is a good opportunity to do some more research and get into this. But say hi to Nan. So murder or legally justified or self-defense. The question depends on the evidence that's going to be presented in court. And again, my feeling in this is it's going to really rely a lot on witness statement. And I think a lot of it too is going to rely on what Anthony said to police officers and what was documented. Witness testimony and consistency, the knife and physical confrontation. And from what we heard, there was a lot of witnesses around. Any available video evidence, of course. Anthony's reported statements, I just talked about that, and whether the jury believes deadly force was reasonable. Till the evidence is fully presented in court, we're still under major question that remain unanswered. I want to talk about, so we need, again, this is kind of my theme in this. We must follow the evidence, not the noise. The case is going to get attention because of the racial component, but it cannot be reduced to black and white issue. At the end of the day, this case needs to be judged by the facts, the evidence, the witness testimony, the law, and not by social media outrage, political narratives, or racial division. And I have the mugshot here of Karmelo Anthony. I want to go back to this in a moment. So keep this photo in your head. All right, let's look at the police report. And thank you all for being here. And please smash the like button if you haven't done that. All right, let's look at the police report. Okay. So Tina chiming in saying, Tina says, I think he was looking for a fight and didn't care who it was with. And that could be possible. Let's see. Stormy says, I can't wait for your coverages. I truly think Karmelo was under the tent to steal, and that might be possible. Again, we have to find out. We'll find out more during trial, and we'll find out what it says here in the arrest report as well, too. Let's see. And Nan says, I can confirm, so happy you're taking this on. The only shit thing about it is none of the coverage is going to be broadcast, but we'll do recaps and talk about it. Okay, and I'm going to plan on doing like a 3-part series here. So you can see the charges here of murder, and we'll get into the initial narrative. So media narrative, and we have adult male was taken into custody following a stabbing call, and that's by Officer Cortez. So Cortez says, and I'm going to go a little wider here so I can read it on this screen. I don't have to keep looking over. Okay. So initial narrative dated April 2nd, 2025. Officer Cortez says on April 2nd, 2025 at 1,100 hours at Stanley School, a Stanley School resource officer, Cortez, heard over the radio dispatch called out a stabbing at David Kirkendall Stadium, and FPD call indicated that an athlete was stabbed. The suspect was reported to being a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants. I immediately left my office and ran across Stanley Middle School parking lot towards the southwest entrance into the stadium. As I entered the stadium, 2 high school age students informed me that the victim was on the north end of the stadium by the bleachers under Memorial High School tent. I did not identify these students. Next proceeded towards the north end of the stadium, visitor side, on foot. As I got closer to the north end, I could see Memorial High School tent and multiple individuals under the tent. Well, there you go right there. There's a lot of witnesses already. I'm going to boost this up a little bit here. So you have a lot of witnesses there already. As I got closer to the north end, I could see the Memorial High School tent with multiple individuals under the tent. Once I arrived on the north end bleachers, an adult male who was on the track pointed out the suspect. I was not unable to identify the witness. The individual that pointed out to me was a black male wearing a gray hoodie, sweater, and dark clothes, Nike pants. The suspect at this point was on the track to the north end. There was a chain link fence. I'm going to have to read this over here. It's a lot easier for me. There was a chain link fence that separated me from the suspect. I gave the suspect instructions to keep his hands up in the air. During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, quote, I was protecting myself. It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident he made, when he made that comment. I asked him if he had any weapons, and he said no. I patted him down for weapons while walking along the fence, and it did not locate any on his person. I instructed the male to continue walking along the fence, which he complied. Towards the area, there was an opening in the fence that led off the track. While walking him off the track, the suspect said, quote, he put his hands on me. I detained the suspect in cuffs, handcuffed behind his back, and had him sit down on the ground. And again, this is the public resource officer at the school. So you're getting his statement first. I then detained the suspect in handcuffs and handcuffed behind his back, and I had him sit down on the ground. Officer A. Ritchie had arrived at the scene at that time. I conducted another pat down of the person and searched his person after he gave me consent. No weapons were located. Let me look up in the chat. Let's see. Let's see. Rumors circulating that Anthony's family have been awful to the victim's family. All rumors allegedly, of course. And we'll get into a lot of this stuff tomorrow. I wanted to just get through the timeline and arrest report tonight, and we'll tackle some of that things in tomorrow night's stream. Okay. So now we've got no weapons were located. While the suspect sat on the ground, I advised that I had the alleged suspect. The suspect then responded and said, ready? Quote, "I'm not alleged. I did it." And I want you guys to remember that. I'm not alleged. I did it. Next, Officer Ritchie and I walked the suspect to a patrol vehicle, number 2412. This is Officer Ritchie's patrol vehicle, which was to the northeast gate of Kirkendall Stadium. As we were walking the squad car, the suspect was emotionally said, quote, "He put hands on me. I told him not to." I did not question the suspect about the incident while he was escorted to the patrol vehicle. I searched the person once again and had him sit in the back seat, driver's area of the patrol vehicle. While the suspect was in the back seat, I noticed fresh blood on his left middle finger. I verbally acknowledged that I saw the blood out loud so that it would be captioned on my body-worn camera. It should also be noted that the suspect asked me, quote, "Is he going to be okay?" while he was in the back seat. I then identified the suspect. He provided me his name and the date of birth verbally as Karmelo Anthony, with a date of birth of, and it's obviously redacted, which I ran through FPD dispatch. Let's see. Okay. Officer Jay Hancock arrived at the scene and remained with me and the suspect at this point. Karmelo was then checked via eSchool database, of FISD students to also confirm his identity. The identifying information he provided matched the individual, and I had custody of Karmelo Anthony. Next, I advised that Sergeant Holland to be transported the subject to Frisco PD jail. Officer Hancock and I transported him to Frisco PD jail. Again, I did not question Karmelo about the incident. Upon arriving to Frisco jail, Karmelo was escorted in the intake area. FPD jail staff changed him out into jail attire. I remained with the jail staff the entire time that he was changed over. The clothes that Karmelo was wearing was placed in a PDF paper evidence bag, FPD paper evidence bag. The clothes remain in my possession from this point. Upon Karmelo being placed in the jail cell, I continue to keep possession of his clothes. I returned to my patrol along with Officer Hancock, which in FPD it's the Sallyport area. Look at guys. Karen brings up a good point, and I have to agree. The quote, "Touch me and see what happens," could consider premeditation. Yeah, I have to agree. There's some things going on there, and that statement is not. I don't think it's very favorable for his defense. All right, so going on, I drove the vehicle out of the Sallyport and parked the squad car in the FPD patrol parking area. Carmelo's clothes remained in the trunk area of vehicle. FPD crime scene technician Kay Dillard took possession of Carmelo's clothes. I added my body-worn camera to the case. I have no further information to report. Now we have Officer Ritchie. Yeah, I know, Ruthie. It is going to be a very interesting case. And it sucks that it's not public. I think this should be a public case. I think there should be cameras in the courtroom. All cameras should always be in the courtroom, and transparency should be there for the public. Let's see. Officer Ritchie says, "I was wearing a full Frisco police uniform and I was operating a fully marked Frisco police vehicle. At about the time, I was dispatched a report of a stabbing at David Kirkendall Stadium. Frisco police dispatch advised an athlete had been stabbed. The suspect was described as a black male wearing a gray hood, sweatpants, and gray sweatshirt and blue sweatpants. I responded to code 3 from the area of El Dorado Parkway in Frisco State. I arrived on the scene approximately 1,500 hours. When I arrived at the scene, I approached the track field area and saw Officer Cortez kneeling to the to a black male wearing a gray hood sweatshirt and sweatpants. The male, later identified as Karmelo Anthony, was in handcuffs and was seated on the sidewalk by the entrance to the track. As I approached Officer Cortez stated Anthony was the alleged suspect. Anthony then made a spontaneous statement and stated, "I'm not alleged, I did it." Officer Cortez conducted a pat search of Anthony's person to ensure Anthony did not have any other weapons and found nothing of evidentiary value. Officer Cortez and I then walked Anthony to my pre-searched patrol car, and Anthony was seated in the rear driver's seat compartment of my patrol vehicle. One thing I love about when I'm reading about this report, and it's very detailed in the sense of like my pre-search patrol vehicle. They're naming the patrol vehicles. They're telling where evidence was stored at the time before it was turned over to the crime scene technicians. You have the number of the patrol vehicles. None of the shit that we ever saw in the Karen Reed case. None of the shit that we saw in the Karen Reed case. Okay, so let's see. Officer Cortez conducted a pack search. Let's see. Anthony made another spontaneous statement and asked if what happened could be considered self-defense. I replied by telling Anthony did not want to know what happened. It should be noted in the car camera on my patrol vehicle was active prior to Anthony being placed in my patrol vehicle. So that is on camera. That conversation is going to be on camera. While Officer Cortez assisted Anthony to my patrol vehicle, I noticed Anthony had blood on his left middle finger. I grabbed my department-issued digital camera and took a photograph of Anthony's hands. I later uploaded the photograph to the crime scene folder under the case number. Gee, look at this. Actually getting evidence in on time, not waiting 4 months to upload some photographs or write out a report, right? Officer Cortez remains my patrol vehicle and Anthony while I provided assistance to the security, nothing further from this officer. Yes, Lisa says, this to me should be highlighted. Karen Reed is free. Absolutely. I know. And look at, and taking photographs, things that just didn't happen in the Karen Reed case, right? And okay, so we have Officer Otis on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 at 1,100 hours, Frisco Police. I'm going to get down. I'm just going to read through this. I'm not going to read through all the free stuff here. Let's see. Frisco Police Department emergency communicated was receiving an emergency call regarding an athlete that was stabbed. The originally known assailant was a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants and also had a goatee and short hair. The subject was possibly wearing Centennial High School attire, as it was believed he was a student there for a sporting event. This had all taken place on the visitor side of the stadium north side, and the victim was under the high school memorial tent of the bleachers. At around the same time, school resource officer Cortez arrived at the scene and began assisting the victim trainers and other parties. Officer Cortez also advised on the radio that he also had the suspect. There is going to be a lot of witnesses in this case. Yeah, I know, right, Tina? Cops actually being professionals, right? Jeez, how could that happen? All right, let's see here. Sergeant Otis was working the 50th sector as the sergeant. Oh, excuse me. He was in the full Frisco Police uniform with his distinct patches and badge and police duty belt. He also was in a marked Frisco Police Department patrol vehicle. He was relatively close to call and placed himself in around 102 hours and responded to the call with his patrol vehicle, overhead emergency lights and sirens activated. Wow, it's just very, very detailed. At the time of the round, Cortez and Officer Richard were walking a black male subject away from the stadium. The suspect was crying hysterically. Please see the other involved officers' narratives for their involvement. Otis walked up to the visitor's bleacher and observed the victim being treated by Frisco Fire Department personnel and also athletic trainers. The weather began to turn and it became heavily, oh God, this is awful. The weather began to turn and it became became to heavily downpour rain at this time. Some of the FISD staff moved the memorial tent to cover the victim and the FFD personnel. Sergeant Otis began using his city-issued phone to snap. Wow, look at this. They're actually taking crime scene photos in the moment. Snap crime scene photos to preserve as much of the scene as possible due to the weather and large gathering of people. And can you imagine that? They saw an opportunity here with the weather, and what did they do? They moved the tent to cover the victim and preserve the crime scene. And immediately, Otis was smart enough to say, hey, we have some impending weather. We could lose this fucking crime scene here. Let me take out my city-issued phone. It's probably department issued, and start snapping some photos to capture the scene. It's funny how that happens when you have a proper investigation, right, Simon? A proper investigation. Isn't it amazing? Man says it's shocking. It is shocking. All right. All right. I have a goal of 5 super chats. I think I need 2 more to get there. We got 27 minutes more to get there. If you can make it happen, I would appreciate it. All right, let's move on. Yeah, no solo cups. It's very shocking, right? All right. So let's see. We will always reference the Karen Reed case here. You can mark my words on that. When we actually hear proper police work, proper evidence collection, we'll always go back to the Karen Reed case. All right, so let's see. City issued crime scene photos as to preserve much of the scene as possible due to the weather and large gathering of people that were involved in the incident. Wow, actually people came out to help and assist. Okay. The officers on scene were informed that the knife that they used was tossed and it was still believed to be somewhere close. Eventually, one of the witnesses said they remembered seeing it on the bleachers still. Officer Shalls, I think that's right, was able to locate the knife. It was located between rows 9 and 10 near seat 30, closest to the aisle, partially open. The rain began to come down again heavily, and it was determined that instead of moving the knife, the officers would cover it up. Look at this, with a large blue tarp. Not a solo cup. They actually used a large blue tarp to cordon off the area. Wow. Oh, police work. Sergeant Otis assisted in preserving the immediate, look at that. And they got the sergeant on scene doing his job too. Sergeant Otis assisted in preserving the immediate crime scene as much as possible, while other personnel attended to the victim and eventually transported him. Okay. Let's see. At around that time, Officer Wetzel, I think that's right, had the crime scene log and began logging individuals on the call to best of his abilities. Wow, we're actually using a log here, and we're logging individuals. Lieutenant Crawford and Pemberton relieved Sergeant Otis of the scene. Sergeant Otis went back to the police department to immediately went back to download his body cam and the photos he took of the city issue phone. Otis' city issue phone had a total of 33 photos that were used to document the incident and scene. During the download, the initial photos formatting was incompatible with the crime scene folder. We re-downloaded the photos and they were able to save properly for preservation of evidence. At this time, there's nothing further to add to this report. I mean, it makes your head spin. There's no leaf blower. They actually corded off the scene as best as they could. And and they were in extreme weather. Think about that. This is another extreme weather case. And look at all of the things that they got done. All the things they got done immediately in that moment. And then what happened? Otis leaves and does his job. He goes back to the police station and immediately does what? Starts downloading his body camera and starts uploading evidence to the evidence folder. Wow. How does that happen? All right. Let's see. Karen says this is more proof that the MSP and Canton PD's ineptness was a cover-up. Okay, so now we have Wetzel. I'm going to go into when I arrived. I'm just going to go right down to the right. When I arrived on scene. When I arrived on scene, I grabbed a roll of, look at this, crime scene tape. Oh, wow, they used crime scene tape. Look at this. They used crime scene tape immediately. I mean, how does that happen? It's a crime scene, and they use crime scene tape. What didn't they do in the Karen Reed case? What didn't they do in the investigation into John O'Keefe's death? When they arrived on scene, when police arrived on scene, what did they not do? When I arrived on scene, I grabbed a roll of crime scene tape from my trunk and proceeded to the visitors' bleacher where dispatch advised the victim was. While I was walking towards the visitors' bleachers, I was approached by a witness who identified himself as Blank. Blank began to tell me what happened, and I asked him where the stabbing occurred. Advised it happened under the Memorial High School pop-up tent in the visitors' bleachers. I immediately informed Sergeant Otis where the witness stated that the stabbing occurred and gave him crime scene. Wow, look at, she gave crime scene tape off to start securing the crime scene. So you have an officer that's actually working with the sergeant, goes over and tells the sergeant what the witness is stating. And hey, while you're at it, here's some crime scene tape. Let's cordon off the area. Let's start doing our job, right? So you had police working all together, closing the scene down, creating the closing off the scene, cordoning off this crime scene. Okay, back to the arrest report. Then I had Blank move to the walkway under the visitors' bleachers out of the rain. Look at this, and they're taking statements, taking witness statements. Right here. Jeez, how did that happen? To further speak with me, the following is a summary of my contact with Blank, advising he was sitting under the Memorial High School pop-up tent with his team and was near the victim, Austin, and the suspect, who was later identified as Karmelo Anthony. Okay. So Anthony was from Centennial High School and was sitting under the Memorial Bleacher High School tent. Austin had told Anthony that he needed to move out from under the team's tent, and Anthony grabbed his bag and opened it and reached inside and proceeded to tell Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin excuse me, and Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony pulled out what Blank recalled as a black knife and stabbed Anthony once in the chest, and then he ran away. Austin began grabbing his chest and telling everyone to get help. Blank advised he did not know Anthony's name and stated another Memorial track member, Blank Blank, was friends with Anthony and he could identify Anthony. Blank described Anthony as a black male, skinny and possibly a goatee, short puffy hair, and wearing Centennial High School clothing. This concluded my contact with Blank. I then instructed to start a crime scene log. Wow, look at that. I retrieved a crime scene log from my patrol vehicle and began starting a crime scene log. I was later relieved by Officer I think it's Schultz. I think that's right. Who took over the crime scene log and cleared the scene. Nothing further attached to this original report. So what do we see so far in this arrest report? See a lot of in my opinion, thorough policing. We see cording off a crime scene, putting up crime scene tape. We have officers working in unison. We have witness statements that are being taken on the spot and being recalled. The nice thing about this is it seems that all these officers have body cameras, so you're getting all this on body cam footage as well. I'm sure that's going to be obviously used in court as evidence. It's like a lot of proper policing going on here, things that we didn't see in the Karen Reed case. I think Ruthie's being a little facetious. She says they did a crime scene log. No way, that's unethical. Okay. Now we have Officer Hancock. Let's see. After hearing more dispatch call information, I drove to the scene. En route, I heard Officer Cortez say he had a suspect in custody. When I got to the scene, I looked for Officer Cortez and went straight to him to hold security to help suspect that, excuse me, that he had cuffed and securing the police squad. Multiple witnesses were providing statements to officers where the stabbing occurred at Memorial High School track 10. Only a short time later, Officer Cortez and myself escorted the suspect, Karmelo Sincere Anthony, to the Frisco Adult Holding Facility. Anthony was transitioned off to jail staff without incident. All jail paperwork was completed, and CID took the investigation from there. So now we have Officer Fisher. Let's see. He responded, obviously, to the stabbing. When I arrived at the crime scene, already marked off. Look at this. Crime scene was already marked off and suspect was already been in custody. I began asking people if they were witnesses to anything. I made contact with Hunter Blank and then Blank, and they were both breathing heavily and crying due to the nature of the events. They were with, and that's going to be Hunter. It's going to be Hunter Metcalf. That's going to be Austin's twin brother. They were with coaches on the field, and it was pouring raining. We made the decision to relocate to the locker room just to go east, to get out of the rain. Once there, things calmed a little bit. However, they were still hysterical and could not talk there. In there, I learned Hunter was the brother of the victim and his twin brother. I attempted to ask them both what happened. I could not really get anything out of Hunter, but Blank stated he wanted to speak. I asked him what happened. He stated they were all just sitting there on the bleachers under the Memorial High School tent. Another male who did not know walked over and sat under the tent. And then Austin, the victim, told the male, since he did not go to Memorial, that he needed to leave the tent. Austin, the male, went back and forth, and then Austin stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. Blank said during that time of the argument, the male reaching around in his bag he had, it was just at the time the male took out a knife and stabbed Austin in the left and left the scene. This is all Blank remembered, and what he talked to me. After this, I stood with 3 athlete witnesses until CID arrived and interviewed them. I was then relieved by an SOR and went back to patrol, nothing further. Okay. So I think we're getting some really good information here. We have witness statements. We have pretty thorough policing, in my opinion. Their statements seem very clear and concise. What they were doing in this. We obviously know there's been body cams that have been worn in this. And, those were all properly downloaded. We have a case file log that was started. We have crime scene tape that was up. We had a situation where they had to use a tarp in the moment to cover, cover this potential alleged murder weapon. And, everything seems pretty thorough from here. I'm going to look at the chat real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Mike, this is very sad. He says, can you imagine your identical twin getting murdered while you're just standing near him? I know. And we know about twins and their connections. And then when twins are separated, I've seen documentaries and stories online and stuff when, twins are born and, one of them, they might get to a certain adult age and then one of them might move away and like they can't take it and they've got to move back and be closer to their twin. Twins don't usually separate very, very easily. So it's probably taken a major toll on Hunter. Vogue said this case has the community completely divided. It's sad. It's ruined a lot of lives. A lot of lives. We're going to do that. We're going to continue to cover the evidence. All right. So here we go. So Officer Crawford, let's see. He went to respond to the call, reference to a stabbing call, arrived at the scene and observed medical personnel excuse me, and several bystanders standing next to a subject later identified the victim as Austin Metcalf. The medical personnel were actively engaging in life-saving measures with Mr. Metcalf. I observed that the crime scene was created around the area and began collecting the names and contact information of bystanders within the scene. I then met with Officer Wetzel and directed him to begin the crime scene log. As he was getting the needed paperwork, I took over his responsibilities of monitoring witnesses to the event. Look at this. Wow. An officer actually monitoring witnesses and making sure they do what? Making sure they do what? Stay in the area. Don't leave. Let's see. $5 super chat. Let me go back up here. Diana, thank you so much. She says, it's Diana, your former mod. Thanks for covering this. Former mod? Did you lose your wrench? Let's put your wrench back in place. I don't know. Maybe that's a YouTube thing. But thank you, Diana. I appreciate it. Put you back into a moderator. Welcome back to the Blue Wrench crew. Okay, ultimately the witnesses were taken to another area out of the rain, and Officer Schultz took over the crime scene log and forwarded information about the bystanders near him. From that point, we worked in coordinating responses from SRO, CID, CSI, and I think it's PLO. I took no other active action at the scene. My body-worn camera did not activate when I initially arrived at the scene, but I did activate it when it discovered it wasn't recording while waiting with the witness, nothing further. And I love the fact that they have that in the report. You know, said, look, it did not activate, but I did activate it. So that's in the report. Noted. Okay. Shells says, Officer Shells, let's see. Upon my arrival, I tried to get an update location of the suspect. I could not see Officer Cortez when I arrived. Officer Cortez informed me over the radio that he had heard a suspect in custody. At this time, I turned my attention to the victim. Multiple FISD trainers were already performing CPR. I could see blood in and around the victim. At this time, medic arrived and began life-saving measures. I coordinated with all other officers on the scene to secure the location. By this time, the students and FISD staff had cleared the area. I used crime scene tape, again, and began to tape off the area. It began to rain harder at this time. Sergeant Otis and myself moved to Memorial High School tent and other medics to the victim to attempt to preserve the evidence that we could. A Memorial coach approached me to inform me that he was with a student who claimed to see the entire altercation. I told the coach to stick with the student and that we would need to get him to police station to give a statement. The student quickly informed me that he knew where the suspect threw the knife and pointed me in that location. I located the knife with Sergeant Otis and could see blood on the knife. Jeez, man. I quickly used my city-issued phone and took pictures before the rain could wash the blood away. Sergeant Otis located, a blue tarp, and we decided that we should cover the knife without touching it in the attempt to preserve the evidence. It was windy and raining hard. Once we positioned the tarp over the knife, I reached out and grabbed a backpack left in the stands and weighted the tarp down and threw it up where Sergeant Otis was positioning the tarp. I was later discovered that the backpack I threw up on the tarp, was the suspect's backpack. Wow, that's crazy. Let's see. Diana says, I'm going to add that Forensic won the award for best forensic lab team in the country for the last 3 years. Really? I don't know, Karen. That's something that I have to find out. I think in the interview that I did, that I played with the new Canton police chief, said that they don't have them yet. That's crazy. I want to read that again. It was windy and raining hard. Once we positioned the tarp over the knife, I reached down and grabbed the backpack left in the stands to weigh down the tarp. Sergeant Otis was positioned on the tarp. I later discovered that the backpack I threw upon the tarp was the suspect's backpack. Holy shit. It was the only Centennial High School backpack located with all the Memorial High School backpacks in that area of the stands. After securing the scene, the crime scene tape, and attempting to preserve which was evidence was possible, assisted other officers who were locating other possible witnesses. Officer Wetzel was maintaining scene security while I assisted other officers and medics transported the victim to relieve him of his post so he could go back to patrol. I maintained the scene security until I was called was cleared. Photos were uploaded to the crime scene folder. My body cam will be downloaded at the end of my shift. No further information at this time. All right, let's see here. Officer Pembleton says, let's see. Upon arriving at the scene, medical officers, the knife reported had been used in the assault and was located by another officer. The bleacher shortly after my arrival, a large downpour area. It's pretty much the same stuff here. Let's see. Officer Newton, I was tasked with meeting the ambulance at the hospital. I arrived prior to the ambulance and waited for them to arrive. They arrived at 10:46 hours with the victim, Austin Metcalf, who was brought into the trauma bay for treatment. At 10:53 hours, Dr. Chow pronounced Austin deceased. Once he was pronounced, the staff stopped treatment and disconnected cords and tubes from the machine without moving anything from his body itself. While on scene, I took possession of the clothing worn by Austin and maintained possession of the items until CSI Dillard took them from me. While on scene, Officer Landon requested assistance in lifting the sheets off the body to take photos. I then placed the sheets back when completed. I stood by in the room for security while Officer Layden, Officer Hernandez, and CSI Dillard took additional photos. At one point, they rolled up the body and removed shorts from Austin, which were bagged and stayed in my custody until CSI took them. At 13:24 hours, the family was allowed on the scene to view the body, was informed the staff and the officers would be allowed to touch the head and feet of Austin, which they did. At 13:37 hours, nurses from the hospital bagged Austin in a body bag. At 15:00 hours, transport service for medical examiners arrived and took possession of the body. Tag number 1016978 was placed on a bag and secured. I took notes during the time, which were scanned to the report and booked as evidence. I turned in the crime scene log and scanned the report. At my conclusion of the log, I took the camera off of convert mode and went to turn it off. At that point, I learned the camera had failed to activate during it being in that mode. I did not see an indicating lights up. Okay, let's see. Higgins. Oh, wow, we have an Officer Higgins. Look at that. Let's see. That I'm going to tell you that whole incident here, this whole incident of reading everything from the hospital is very profound for me because I lost my best friend. My best friend was murdered in 1994 and he was stabbed to death, and he was stabbed multiple times through his lungs. And it just kind of like took me through that procedure of things that he probably went through, you know, when he passed at the hospital. It was probably very close to that. If you haven't watched that live stream, you can. It's here on my channel. And I go through it, and I actually have all the newspaper articles that I kept of his case through the years. And unfortunately, his murderers end up walking. They got very light sentences. They were juveniles at the time, and the DA fumbled the case. So, you know, they got off of very, very light sentences. But you can watch that live stream. I think it's called My Best Friend. It's called My Best Friend Was Murdered. And I had all the newspaper articles and sourced everything and did like a whole presentation on it. But please check that stream out. Let's see here. Higgins was working at the desk as a desk officer at approximately 10:42 hours. Blank walked in the main lobby stating that he had witnessed the stabbing and was told to come to the lobby to complete a witness statement. Let's see. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is I have to agree, Diana. I have to agree. There's so many things wrong in this. There's so many things that we need to find. And we're gonna hear some of the experts talk about this as well too, and their thoughts of it. Thank you, Ruthie. I appreciate it. Thank you, Viper. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. Polly Pocket says, how many times I've disconnected a patient from a ventilator? It never gets easy. I still awake at 3 a.m. and do morning blood gases for ventilation changes. So it's interesting that you say that, because my mom was in the healthcare business for about 16 years, and she worked in the ER. And she was a patient care liaison. I'm sure you probably know what that is, or there's probably people in here that are familiar with that. And we were just talking, gosh, maybe 2 weeks ago about some of her emergency room, things, and talking about some of the most horrible, things that she had to ever go and see and do, amongst some very funny things as well too. But one of them that she said that was a case that stuck with her and will always stick with her, and I think most of everybody that she worked with was, so there was a case of these twin, I'm sorry, it was a brother and, was it twins? Twins, son and a daughter, and they were left by the parents with the grandmother, and the grandmother had a pool, and the kids had got out, and I think she said they were like 4 and 5 years old, or 4 or 5 years old. So the twins got out, and they got into the in-ground pool. And by the time the grandmother had found them, one of them was at the bottom of the pool, and she managed to get the other one out that was floating on top. So they both get brought to the hospital. I believe the son had died. So now they call, the grandmother's at the hospital. The father is there. They pronounce the son, and she said that everybody in that hospital, and the way that this man cried, just bellowed. She said, I will never forget that man's cry. And she said everybody in that hospital that day that was around that emergency room with those small kids just lost it, absolutely lost it. To even make the situation even worse, and this is crazy, the mother is in Boston while this is all going on, giving birth to their third child, and the father had to leave to go to Boston to be with the wife to give birth, and she had no idea what was going on at this point. She had no idea. She's in childbirth, and this is going on. It's like one of the most tragic, wildest stories. And of course, my mom had more detail to it. I'm kind of numbing it down here. But it's just insane. And she told me a lot of crazy, funny stories that have happened as well too. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Ridiculous. All right, let's get back to the police report. Let's see. Okay, so I gave Blank a voluntary witness statement, which he worked on until detectives arrived to speak with him. Blank left with detectives. I returned to my normal duties. Nothing further to report. Okay, let's see here. Officer Craig said approximately 100 hours. Kirkendall Stadium on arrival. Made 400. It's pretty much the same stuff. Suspect was in the vehicle. I responded. Let's see here. I responded to the victim scene was north of the bleachers. As I walked up, I noticed Frisco Fire Department personnel attempted to provide life-saving measures to the subject, later identified as a Memorial High School student, Austin Metcalf. As other officers worked the scene, I asked who responded to the stadium's medical locker room. They kept it. Okay. So we have a couple of students. Those are witnesses that were taken inside the locker room. While with them, I was told to take their cell phones from them and later turn them over to Sergeant, I think it's Bassinet or Bissonette. Let's see. After being retrieved, I was asked to make contact with FISD athletes and had been placed on school buses. Below is the list of students. Obviously, those have all been redacted, but these are probably all potential witnesses. Also met with the following coaches. You have the coaches' names there, and that's nothing to report after that. We have Alves respond to the stabbing call. Okay, just still a lot of formality. So that is the police report. Very thorough. So Metcalf was stabbed once straight through the heart. And that's what ultimately ended his life. Okay. I want to get to some reports that came out. We'll play some video here. You're going to hear from Austin Metcalf's father as well in this report. And we'll get a little bit more into his interview tomorrow as well, too. I wanted to get just to the basic timeline and through the police report tonight, too. So let's listen here. This is one of the first reports that came out from Fox Live. They're a great channel. I love watching them. They put out good reports. So here we go.
The 17-year-old accused of fatally stabbing a Texas student athlete during a track meet allegedly admitted to the crime. Now, he also asked officers if his actions could be considered self-defense. That is according to a newly released arrest report. On Wednesday morning, 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, a junior at Memorial High School in Frisco, Texas, was killed at a track meet. Police said a student from Centennial High School in Frisco, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony, stabbed Metcalf in the chest during a fight. Anthony was arrested, now charged with first-degree murder, and is being held in the Collin County Jail on a $1 million bond. Our Fox 4 Dallas team has been covering all of the information here. Alex Boyer has the latest.
In that 7-page arrest warrant affidavit, several witnesses, including Metcalf's twin brother, describe how that deadly encounter went down. It also revealed that the suspect reportedly admitted to a Frisco police officer that he stabbed Metcalf.
My son is gone, and I don't really have words. I've tried to figure out what I was going to say, but he's just going to be so missed.
The pain is still raw for the Metcalf family after 17-year-old Austin Metcalf was killed on Wednesday morning at a UIL District 11.
I want to add this too, looking at these two students, from what I've found out, is both of them were really good students. So what went wrong in Karmelo's path? There's also been some reports of some social media posts of him with a gun. Again, I'm going to track a lot of this stuff down. Posing with a gun. I want to track a lot of this stuff down and look at it. Let's see. Karen says, I've been obsessed with the Mackenzie Shirilla case this week. Once I watched The Crash on Netflix, saw the body cam of Dom's mother being told her son was deceased, and her wailing rolling around on the floor haunts me still. Yeah, that's been a wild case. It has picked up some attention as well. I thought about jumping into that, but there's a lot of other channels that are covering that right now. And I think that this case is very important and needs some attention. Obviously, I want to cover it here on my channel. It's going to be a little difficult to do with, the courtroom being shut off, but there'll be things that will leak out online. People will get this story out. People will get out what's going on in this case. So, people can have an understanding. And thank you so much for the 20. I appreciate the support. And this is actually a pretty good pause right here. You can see the actual crime scene itself. You have the crime scene tape. It looks like there's a technician down there below. You have an officer that's actually watching the scene. And we see that blue tarp that was used to protect the knife. Now, I don't know if the knife has been picked up or processed at that time, but you can see a pretty controlled crime scene area, unlike things, and I'm going to go back and reference the Karen Reed case. All right, here we go.
5A track meet in Frisco.
That dude was extremely smart, always in the box. He just came to him real easy, and just him playing football as well just made him just a great person overall.
Here's what happened according to witnesses and the police report. Metcalf got into an argument with the suspect, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony, over a seating dispute in the bleachers. Metcalf told Anthony he needed to move from under the team's tent.
He always was one to step up and be the person that would do the right thing. And he was doing the right thing by saying to this gentleman that you're not supposed to be in this tent. This is because they have personal items there.
Anthony opened his bag and reached inside and said to Metcalf, "Touch me and see what happens." Metcalf reportedly grabbed Anthony and told him to move.
He knew he wasn't supposed to be there. He was just a tragedy what happened.
That's when Anthony pulled out a black knife and stabbed Metcalf in the chest once before running away. When Anthony was taken into custody by a Frisco police officer, Anthony reportedly confessed to the crime, saying, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to," adding that, "I was protecting myself," and then asked the police officer, "Is he going to be okay?" Metcalf died in his brother's arms.
I'm not at that point to forgive and forget, but eventually I will. But I pray for his family. I pray that they understand what we're going through as well.
This whole community has really wrapped their arms around us. And if I could say anything to the nation, I would say to make sure that you just hug your babies tight, because you don't know when the last time you get to do it.
In a statement released by the Metcalf family this afternoon, they say their focus is now on laying Austin to rest. Meanwhile, I can tell you that Anthony remains in the Collin County Jail on a $1 million bond. Alex Boyer, Fox.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, the bond was reduced down to $250,000. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. I want to just get out the basic timeline today.
4 News.
Alex, thank you so much. Now, our Fox 4 Dallas team, as I mentioned, has been covering all of this from the get-go. They had a one-on-one conversation with
another good look at
Austin's
the
father.
crime scene there.
Well, it started with a call from his football coach who was.
Now, this is going to be Austin Metcalf's dad. And I think this report was either later that afternoon or the next day that he gave this interview.
Not at the track meet and said, I think Austin has been stabbed. And I said, where at? And he said, Kukendall Stadium. I said, I'm on my way. So I drove up there, went through a load of police officers, and was able to see my son on the gurney with a huge hole and blood all over him. And they were pumping him. He wasn't breathing, and his eyes were rolled back in his head. So I had to find his brother. They're twins. And so I found Hunter and tried to get him under control as best we could. And then I loaded him up in my car, and we drove to the hospital as quickly as possible. And we waited. And when the doctors came in and said that he didn't make it, it was tough. My son took it extremely hard. Mm-hmm. I'm still in shock, to be honest. I mean, I'm numb. So it really hasn't hit me. And I don't believe any parent should ever have to bury their child. And I pray that, maybe there's changes made as far as security or things like that. And maybe we can learn from this and try to turn a tragedy into something positive to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else's child. I don't want parents to feel like I feel today. So I've already forgiven the person who stabbed him. God's going to take care of everything. God's taking care of my son. I kissed him. When I kissed him goodbye for the last time, I told him it's not goodbye, it's see you later. So I just have to trust in God and my faith to pull us through. I don't understand his plan. We're all subject to trial and tribulations. God didn't say life was going to be fair or wasn't going to be hard, but he said he'll always be beside you and never leave your side. So we're going to lean deep into our faith There's a vigil tonight at our church at 7:00. I will be attending also. The outpouring of students and coaches and friends and family that showed up at the hospital immediately. It was,
and the thing is that, like I said, this is affecting, and it's ruined 2 young men's lives that could have went on and been very productive in whatever they decided to do in their adult lives. This has ruined not only their lives. You've got 1 kid that is dead. You have 1 kid that's possibly going to go to prison for the rest of his life. You have family and friends that are now all torn apart. You have this community that's torn apart. This is something that's always going to be kind of the stain on this high school, that this will always be talked about. This will always be talked about now. You know, Austin Metcalf, Karmelo Anthony, that's always what that's going to be remembered about. And it's sad. And I have to agree, you know, someone said in here, what a strong father. Oh, man, this is awful for both of them. I mean, ruined lives.
Just shows the way my son touched people's lives. He was voted team MVP of the football team this year. He carried a 4.0. He was on National Honor Society. He's ranked in the top 50 of the state in his position. He's having D1 colleges contact him. He had a great life ahead of him. And to be taken away, it's such a tragedy. I mean, I can't even tell you how I feel, because I don't know how I feel. I feel numb at the moment. Yeah. I just hope that this doesn't happen to any other parent and their child. But I do hope for justice. Because this is unacceptable.
And the fact that, you know, someone was immediately taken into custody, they know who did this, they are charging him with murder. I mean, how does that make you feel, that police immediately got this person?
First of all, I feel sorry for that individual, because he's now made a mistake that's going to cost him the rest of his life. The hard part that cost me is I lost my son, and his brother was holding him, trying to hold the blood in, and he passed. My son watched his brother die in his arms.
Can you tell me a little bit more about Austin, about, you know, his personality?
Austin was a leader. He led the football team. He was voted team MVP by his players and coaches.
What was his position?
He played linebacker. Him and his brother both play linebacker. He played inside. His brother plays outside. We were so fortunate this past weekend
in from Facebook,
that Hunter, and Austin, we grew up hunting together, and we had matter of fact, the ranch we own, the lease was not renewed, so we could never hunt there again. And we went there for the last weekend. And he said, "Dad, I've never shot a pig before. I want to get a pig this weekend." I said, "Okay." Lord and behold, it's a heck of a story, but he shot his first pig this weekend. And we all talked, me, him, and Hunter both. We all talked about, these are memories that you take forever. After I'm gone, you can tell your kids about, well, your grandfather and we were hunting and we stalked and it took 2 hours, but we got this. I got my first pig, and he was so excited. And I'm so fortunate to be able to spend that weekend, not knowing it was the last weekend I'll ever spend with him.
And he also was on the track and field team?
Also was, football was his pride and joy. Yeah. He was working on track to increase his speed. Matter of fact, he's already dropped this 40 times. He was telling me about how he's dropped it. He's going to drop it some more. And he was an amazing, dedicated athlete. And by the outpouring of his friends and family that showed up immediately at the hospital, goes to show how he impacted other people's lives.
And what did that mean to you to know that your son did that?
Well, for me, I was diagnosed with cancer 9 years ago, and I was not supposed to live. And God blessed me because he knew I needed to be a father for these 2 boys. My 2 boys is what my life lived. I lived my life for my children. That was my why to keep fighting. And I'm cancer free. So God had a plan for me. So I was able to watch and be blessed so much. To have both my sons are amazing. My other son is just crushed, and I feel for him now. And he'll never be the same. None of us will. Grief, we all go through it, but the thing about grief is you don't get over it. You just learn to live with it. So, you know, I don't have a choice other than to carry on. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure Austin's never forgotten. I'm sure he won't be. He's touched a lot of people's lives. He was a great individual, a leader, an athlete, very smart, 4.0. I couldn't ask for a better son. 2 of them. I couldn't ask. They were my whole life. And for it to be taken away so senselessly, when this guy was just sitting in the wrong spot and they asked him to move, and he winds up stabbing my son in the heart and killing him. It's unfortunate, but he's gonna have to answer to those consequences. They have no contact with this person ever before. I can tell you what happened. I know firsthand. I wasn't there, but I talked to my.
Okay, that's an important detail too. Let's go back and hear what the dad said. Because this might be an important detail as well too. What did he say? We've never had contact with this person before. Let's hear that again.
And he winds up stabbing my son in the heart and killing him. It's unfortunate, but he's gonna have to answer to those consequences. They have no contact with this person ever before. I can tell you what happened. I know firsthand. I wasn't there, but I talked to my son. Yeah, what is everything.
So that's definitely something that's going to be explored, I'm sure, in this case. Heavily explored. Have they had any type of contact? Have they ever had any type of online friction, social media posts? Have they ever had a dust up at another meet before? Something like that. I can guarantee you that will definitely be investigated.
I know exactly how it all transpired. It was a multi-Frisco High School track meet. Yep. Many high schools were there. It started to rain, and they have their own little tent for memorial. And they were sitting there, and someone was behind them mouthing off, and he turned around and said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Mello." He said, "Well, you don't belong here. You don't go to memorial." He had a Centennial tracksuit on.
A good account.
And he said, "You need to leave. This ain't your spot." And some words were discussed. I'm not going to say on camera he asked him to leave and basically said, "Make me." And then he wound up stabbing him in the heart and killing him. All over someone sitting in the wrong spot at a track meet. Now, I don't blame his parents. I don't blame him. But they all will suffer too. I feel for their family because now their son will probably wind up in prison.
Yeah.
And learn that he killed someone. And he devastated and took my son that I can never get back. It's unfortunate for everyone involved. And I just hope it doesn't happen to anyone else. This world, you know, there need to be changes, and it starts at home. So I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm just happen to say that try to be kind in this world. And if you can't be kind, find someone who is.
Is there anything else that you want people to know about Austin? You want people to know how he'll be remembered? Is there anything else that you haven't shared?
I mean, it's hard right now. My thoughts are all over the place, to be honest. I mean, there's so many great things about him. I could probably sit here for 3 hours and go on and on and on. But he was a great friend. He was a leader. He was well respected in school by his teammates, by his coaches, by his friends. His girlfriend came up to me and said, "You know what? He talks about you a lot, and he loved you, and he treated me with great respect." And he goes, "You taught him that, you know." He was going to turn out to be a great individual and impact this world with positivity. So he was on the right track. He was doing everything right. I was so proud to have 2 sons, not just him, but 2 sons that do the exact same thing. My other son, Hunter's like, "Dad, I can't go on because Austin always had my back."
Oh.
I said, "I know." And when I kissed his forehead today, as his body was cold, I ran my fingers through his hair. I told him, "It's not goodbye. It's see you later."
So this is, again, I said, Couldn't remember if this was the day of or the day after. This interview is the day of. This father's giving an interview just as he left the hospital and touched, just like he said, his cold son's forehead and kissed him goodbye.
I'll join you at some point too, son. You just beat me to this place. So you keep an eye on me up there. Put in a good word for me. And we'll meet again.
Your faith is keeping you strong right now.
Yep. It's the only thing that's keeping me together. Otherwise, Otherwise, I'd be in a rubber room right now. So all I can do is pray. I don't understand it, but I have to live through it, and I have to still be here for my other son. So my journey's not done. It just took a really bad detour today that I'll probably never get over. I'll live with it the rest of my life. And I sure as hell don't want any other parent to feel the way that I feel today. Because when I got the call, I was scared, but I was hoping like he's stabbed in the stomach. It's not gonna be that big a deal, surgery, as long as he's okay. When I saw him, I knew it wasn't good. And then when his brother told me, Dad, I tried to hold the wound to the blood, but there was too much. And he died in my arms. It's tragic. I don't know what else to really say.
How can the community best help you right now? Help you and your family right now? Is it thoughts and prayers? Is there a GoFundMe? How can they help you?
I hadn't even thought about that. That's a good idea. GoFundMe. I'll probably have someone set that up, and prayers. I believe I'm heavy in faith, and we just pray that this doesn't happen again to someone else. Unfortunately, I get to be the example. But, we have to try to turn negatives into positives. And he was a great kid, and he impacted a lot of lives. I'll never forget him, and neither will a lot of other people. So, community-wise, talk to your kids. Teach your kids. It all starts at home. I know this world has changed. I'm old school, and it's a different world. It's unfortunate, but we all have to evolve. And if we all don't come together, black, white, yellow, brown, I don't care. It's all about human beings.
Yep.
We got to care about each other. We got to be kind to each other. You need to show compassion, show empathy, not anger, not rage. Teach your kids the right from wrong. And pray to God this doesn't happen to yours.
Damn. What a raw interview. Man. All right, let's hear from more experts. This was on Cuomo, April 14, 2025. So just a couple days after, about a week after. Let's hear what they had to say here.
All right, so Anthony was being held on $1 million bond, which was crazy. Today, they reduced it to $250,000, which is still sizable, but he wound up getting out. All right, so Mark, first of all, the idea of race, you lived it with Zimmerman in a big way. There's so many people who believe that that's why Zimmerman wound up beating that case. But what do you see here? What are your questions? What will matter?
Oh, no, it's definitely a consideration. It always is, whether it's a sort of obvious what we're doing or the implicit one, because we all carry these implicit biases with us that perceive or impact how we perceive an event. Now, it's going to come down to it, and I disagree with the guy who said this is not a self-defense case. Yes, I think he said it. This is definitely a self-defense case, because it always is one until you look at the facts of the case and compare the two. You have to compare who was the initial aggressor. Was it an aggressive act for him to go up and say, get away from the tent? Did he do more than that?
Okay, now I'm going to start giving you my feelings here. Just because someone pushes you does not mean that you take out a knife and plunge it into their heart and kill them. Okay? That does not give you the right to do that. You've got to have a little better judgment there. And from what we're hearing so far, there was no immediate threat or danger to Karmelo Anthony's life. And I'm going to pull up another expert here in a moment, and he's going to speak. And I love the way that he explains it. And the gentleman actually reminds me a lot of Todd McGee. And I wanted to try to get Todd to come up on the show. But he hasn't been feeling well. So we'll play this video in a couple of moments. It's striking just the way he describes things in his demeanor, how he tells stories like, oh my God, that's Todd. But we're going to play that here in a minute. But another thing that I look at here too, now we have the mugshot. And I'm actually going to go back. This could be a different one. This is the one day of. This is the mugshot day of. Do you see any identifiable marks on his face? A scratch, a punch, a bruise, a scrape, a bloodied lip, a bleeding eye, a cut on the forehead, anything that looks like he was attacked and in any type of immediate danger? I think this is where the defense team is going to have a lot of issues. I think this is where the defense team is going to have a lot of issues. All right, let's play through this.
Get away from the tent. Did he do more than that? My understanding was maybe he touched him and put hands on him. Granted, that makes the decedent in this case maybe the initial aggressor. But you really still then have to look at whether or not Karmelo Anthony responded with appropriate force. He used a deadly weapon, and whether or not he was in imminent fear of great bodily injury. That's the standard in Texas and most every state to determine whether or not his actions, the way he perceived him, the way Karmelo Anthony perceived him when he took out that knife and stabbed him. The good part is if the decedent was the aggressor initially. The bad part for Karmelo, if in fact it's true that he sort of said, touch me and you'll see, because that's that aggression, that's that predisposition towards violence that doesn't have a place in a true self-defense case.
What's the most important question for you in this, Mark? And then I want the same from you, Professor, if you have one. Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. Who truly was the initial aggressor? How did this unfold such that if in fact he had a reason to believe great bodily injury was imminent, was it reasonable? Was he pushed? Was he shoved? Was he hit? Because don't forget, it's of the moment, but you are allowed to respond to great deadly force with your own great deadly force, or at least your perception of great deadly force. So it's really going to be fact-based. I do think that race, it's going to be played out on social media. It also is going to be played out in a courtroom if you ever get there, because in today's day and age, I would argue that someone like Karmelo Anthony now has a heightened concern over the past few years and the way we've sort of degraded some of the progress we may have thought we made over the past decade, as far as how we're treating young black males in the system, such that maybe he would have felt more preyed upon than he otherwise would. Interesting, you're right. We're going to be talking about this for a long time.
Professor, what do you got?
Hello.
Hello. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Professor.
This is all about who the jury is. This will all be determined by the jury. If the racial factors were reversed, if a white man had killed an unarmed black man.
This is what mainstream media does. They feed into the cesspool, and look what they're trying to make it about right now. They're not following the evidence. They're not going through the timeline we went through. They're not going through the police report like we went to. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get views and ratings and people to watch, and they're stoking up this conversation of white versus black, black versus white. And that's, I said, I am not covering this shit ever. Would I ever cover any case like that on my channel this way? We look and support the evidence We look and support what witnesses say. We look and support and what experts say, and we follow the evidence here on this channel. And that's what we will do. And that's how we'll cover this. We don't distinguish between black and white, purple, yellow, red, whatever. If it's a crime, we look at it as a crime. All right, let's go.
Everybody would be on the reverse side of this. We live in a society where everything is judged by race. You know, the Bible says to judges and prosecutors, don't
And I'll just add this. We will only tackle those issues if they become an actual factual component of a case. That's the only time we would talk about those type of issues. All right, here we go.
People just do abstract justice. We're way, way, way beyond that. If the racial elements were reversed there, virtually all the people who are calling for him to be acquitted would be calling for him to be convicted, and vice versa. Let's not kid ourselves. We live in a race-conscious society, and jury selection, which, of course, your other guest is so brilliant at and did so well in the Zimmerman case, is determine the outcome of this case, without a doubt.
For me, it's as simple as, how do they feel about this proposition? Bringing a knife to a fist fight. Right. Mark O'Mara, we'll see what happens. Alan Dershowitz, thank you very much.
All right, let's go to, I want to play this video. So this is the one that I was talking to. This is a great YouTube channel. And I was surprised. It was kind of just like sad too. I love this gentleman's breakdown on cases. I was looking at some of his work on his channel. It's called Correctional Officer in the News. And this gentleman appears to be a former correction officer. I said, he just reminded me a lot of Todd, his mannerisms, the way he talks, the way he describes things and breaks things down. And I love what he talked about in Karmelo Anthony's case, described it really well, and talked about self-defense a lot in this video. And I thought broke it down to a very level that we could all absorb and how this is all going to play out. So
what I saw in the video was ultimately it's from the press box across the field.
We'll get into this security footage tape. I think he kind of leads with this here as an opener. I'm going to just go to what he talks about. Here we go.
Altercation leading up to the stabbing.
They have a video that they're only allowing media to look at. Consistently, I've heard the people that have seen the video say that they didn't see a fight happening. They saw an incident happen and they saw everybody just scatter, right? So there was no crowd. There was nothing going on, pretty much like a rumble or a fight or anything like that before this incident took place. Now, from my point of view, I'm a retired correction officer. People who don't understand.
And what I was saying is that he's making some really great content on his channel. It looked like his content stopped maybe 3 to 6 months ago. And I'm like, I hope he's all right. And I think you're going to really enjoy his video. And if he does pop back up and does more talking about this case, more videos about this case, I'm going to leave his link in the chat and you can go over and subscribe to his channel to stay up. So yeah, right, Todd.
The ramifications of using force, especially deadly physical force, you're really not engaged, okay? Because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to wake up the sleeping giant, which is the justice system, and you're going to get caught in it, and they're not going to say, oh, you're too stupid to know what you did was wrong. They're going to hold you fully accountable. What we know from this incident, there's witnesses that saw what happened. Karmelo did not have to say anything, but he said something. So we have his version of his motivation for what he did, his state of mind. See, and that's what they want. They want to know why you did what you did. So in Karmelo's case, it's clear to anybody who has engaged in a use of force incident, we understand what happened. He didn't understand stand your ground, didn't understand how to use force, when to use force, how much force to use. So when they catch him, he says, he put his hands on me. So in his mind, he believes that he is justified in stabbing someone if they put their hands on him. which is not consistent with the law. Are there any injuries to Karmelo? Is there a scratch on him?
And I talked about
I don't
this
think
too.
there was any type of proof that there was a physical altercation at all on him. So from the witness statements that said that he said, touch me, and then when Austin touched him, then he said, punch me and see what happens. This is an incident between two young people, one of which really does not understand what the law is and thinks he understands what stand your ground actually means, and he doesn't. He thinks that he's justified in stabbing someone because they put their hands on him. He messed up. Now, if he would have had a black eye, a busted lip, a broken jaw, then maybe they could say, hey, you know, he was seriously injured. But without that, if you're going to use force, there's two different types of force. There's force that is immediate, and then there's force that's anticipated. Okay? If it's immediate, if it's imminent, if something's going to happen and it's immediately happening, and you don't have any time at all to do anything other than defend yourself or take action, that's imminent. That is somewhat justifiable, depending on what type of force you use and whether it's in proportion. But if it's anticipated force,
a great breakdown,
then you may have a problem with using force, because what the people that are evaluating it are going to think is that you could have done something else. If the force wasn't immediately needed, or if it wasn't imminent, if it was anticipated, then you could have done something else. Why did you use force, first of all? And why did you use deadly physical force if it wasn't immediate? So when I read the witness statements, and then when I read what Karmelo said, I see an incident that was not immediate. The threat was not immediate. The threat was not life-threatening. Because if someone is threatening your life, you're not telling them.
And that's what I said. I was talking about that before. That just because someone pushed you or maybe put their hands on you to move you doesn't give you the right. And it seemed there was a lot of, and this is just my opinion. It's interesting when we go back and listen to some of the witness statements that they saw the bag being put down, the bag being opened. And while the bag is being opened, he's making the statements. Put your hands on me and see what happens. Punch me and see what happens. So it's almost like, and I think I saw this in the chat earlier, that he was going looking for trouble. And again, this is all alleged. It's just my opinion. But this is what I'm seeing when we go through this and start to hear about, the witness statements or the beginning parts of all the evidence here that we know about. All right, we'll keep playing here.
Hit me.
It's a great breakdown,
Punch
by
me.
the way.
Touch me. You're not telling them that. If this incident is imminent, you don't have time to fish around in your bag to find your knife. You don't have time for that. If you have time to go through these steps, to tell a person to touch you, and then tell the person to hit you, and then fish around in your bag, then you got time to do something else. You have time to look at somebody and say, hey, call the coach. You got time to pull out your phone instead of your knife and say, hey, I need a police over here, 911. Yep. This guy is assaulting me, or he's attempting to assault me. You have time to walk away. So it's not imminent. It's anticipated, but it's not imminent. So you have the opportunity to do something else. And that's what the Lord's going to look at. Like, what were your choices here? So this is an ego thing to us. To people who look at this and evaluate things like this, this is your ego.
He's awesome, right?
He said something you didn't like.
Great channel.
And you were going to show him. You were going to show him, if you touch me, I'm going to show you. See, that's not you're fearing for your life. That is, I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove something to you. Watch, touch me.
Or he could have, Granny's making a good point. He could have ran away. Or how about this? He could have been, he could have said, hey, coach, hey, security officer or whatever, hey, adult, you know, this guy is pushing me. Hey, can you get someone? This guy's pushing me around. Right? Right.
Watch, see what happens. That's not a person that's in fear for their life. And see, when they ask you what happened, even though they didn't ask Karmelo what happened, he said what he did. And it shows his state of mind. Now, he shouldn't have said anything. Like any lawyer will tell you, don't say anything. Don't give a statement. Don't give up your right to remain silent. But he did, because he's young. He's a kid. He doesn't know. He thinks he's right. So he's saying, he touched me. He put his hands on me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he would have said, oh, God, oh, police, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, man, I thought I was going to die, man. This guy grabbed me. I didn't know what was going to happen. Now we know his state of mind. He's afraid. He's fearing for his life. But the statement he's making, it doesn't sound like he's afraid. It doesn't sound like he feared for his life. It sounds like he was going to prove to this guy, touch me and see what happens. I'm going to show you. Because from his point of view, I have the right to do this. Because stand your ground gives me that right. But it doesn't. Now, how does a young person, 17-year-old, get this point of view? A lot of times, it's people talking about this stuff that don't really know what they're talking about. And you have young people that are very encourageable, very open to suggestion, and take things as fact. And they hear somebody that they look up to, that they may respect, say something, and they believe it. So if you're around anybody, young person, old person, but particularly young people, particularly young people, don't talk recklessly about things like this. If you're going to talk about it, explain to a person that under no circumstances do you want to engage in using force against somebody. And if you have to use deadly physical force, then it has to be a life and death situation. I don't know whether his parents, it could have been his father and his uncle sitting around talking about, yeah, you know, if someone touches me, if someone does this to me, well, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to stab them or shoot them or whatever. And bye, bye, bye. Don't do that. Don't tell these people that, especially these young people. Don't let them believe that. This is what I see happen here. Mm-hmm. A young man, intelligent young man, 3.7 grade point average. I think they said he was the captain of the football team and the captain of the track team, stuff like that. This guy is a very intelligent young man, maybe have potential to be something great.
And it's gone. It might be potentially gone.
So somewhere along the line, he got influenced by something or somebody, right? And so I'm saying, watch your kids. Watch who's talking to your kids. And when you talk about things like this, because this stuff is in the news all the time, and when you start talking about this stuff, make sure that you're careful about what you say, because your kids are listening.
It's a good video.
And let me just say this. A lot of this music that these kids are listening to, it's penetrating their psyche. It is altering the way that they see life,
reality,
and death.
In reality.
And so you got to be careful about what you let your kids listen to.
And I get it. You know, people are probably up there, okay, boomer, but he's got a point. He's got an absolutely point. It's a great video. It is a great video. And if he's a parent, he probably is a good dad. Probably takes care of his kids very well. Here we go.
And what you listen to in front of your kids. I'm not saying raise your kid in some sort of cocoon or some sort of bubble or something, but I'm saying be careful what you put your stamp on, for what you co-sign. Because when you co-sign it, your kid thinks it's okay. if you're banging this music and bobbing your head to it and singing it and playing it in front of them, and you're not explaining this to them, then it's very easy for your kid to take it like you condone all this violence. People look at Zimmerman and Carl Rittenhouse. Oh yeah, look what they did. Look what this and that and the other. Those situations were totally different. Okay, number one, with Zimmerman, which I thought that he would get convicted myself.
I'm gonna drop the link.
But the bottom line is that there was no witnesses, and he had injuries.
I'll drop the link after. All right. The sad thing about it, I looked. It looks like he hadn't made any content in like 3 to 6 months. I'm hoping that he comes back and gives some views about this case. Listen, us with YouTube channels, sometimes life gets in the way, but I really enjoy his point of view. And when I was going through and doing my research today and over the last couple of days, I came across this video and I said, "This is a great video. It's a very great video, and I want you to sub up to him." And I'll give you my I'll give you the link here in a minute.
And he's saying that Karmelo had him on the ground banging his head against the concrete, and he used deadly physical force because he thought his life was in danger.
There are reports that his autopsy shows that Trayvon Martin had injuries to his knuckles. Also, according to ABC News, court records show that George Zimmerman had a pair of black eyes, a nose fracture, and 2 cuts to the back of his head after he fatally shot 17-year-old Trayvon Martin.
That's different. Carl Rittenhouse had a mob running after him.
Yeah.
They had a guy that tried to hit him in the head with a skateboard. They had another guy that had a gun. And, you know, the people that are making this a racial issue, you're not helping Karmelo. You're not helping him. You're making it worse for him. The victim here is not Karmelo. The victim here is Austin Metcalf. Because young people always have scuffles. Young people have fights, fist fights. You know, when I was coming up, this was a normal thing, especially at a sports activity. You know, you're playing basketball, somebody fouls you too hard, there's a fight. You know, I don't know of any fights at track meets, but I'm sure it happens. You cut me off, you stepped on my heel or whatever. Yeah, it's going to be a fight, but that's all it's supposed to be, is a fight. And it's supposed to last like 2 seconds because everybody else is supposed to break it up. And what we used to do back in the days are the people that were older than us, if we did fight, they would let us fight. And then after the fight was over, they would make us shake hands.
Yep.
Shake his hand. Oh, I don't know. Shake his hand.
Exactly.
What should have happened in this case, if there was a fight, they should have fought man to man or boy to boy. And at the end of the day, shake hands.
That's what we used to do.
Or if it's a contentious issue between the two young men, then Austin's dad should have spoke with Karmelo's dad.
Yep.
And talked it out. It should not have escalated to this. And it's a tragedy on both sides, especially for the Austin Metcalf family and his brother Hunter, who had to witness this and have his twin brother pass away in his arms. That's tragic. They are the victims here. Thank you once again for stopping by and checking me out. And until next time, peace and stay safe.
Those are great. So it's correctional officers in the news. I'm going to go to his channel here. You can see it. I'm subscribed up. You guys need to subscribe. I'm going to drop the link to his channel in the chat. Yeah, I was looking like his last video was like 6 months ago. I hope everything's all right. I hope he comes back. I would love to hear more of his take as this case goes on. I think he's got a couple more videos here of Karmelo's case here. And so correctional officers in the news. Check them out. Let's see. I'll drop the link to his channel in there again. But his last video was like 6 months ago. I hope he's all right, and I hope he comes back. All right. Awesome. Simon just subscribed. Please subscribe up to that gentleman's channel. All right, that's going to end part 1. And actually, hang on one second. I'm going to give you, so I reached out to a legal friend of mine today and asked them the question, is Karmelo Anthony in a lot of trouble? And this is what they told me. This is what they wrote me. Yes, legally, Karmelo is in serious trouble. Not automatically guilty, but the exposure is huge. He's been indicted for murder. His trial is set for June 1st. And if convicted, faces up to life in prison. The problem from him is the arrest report has several things prosecutors will hammer. The report says he was charged with first-degree felony murder. It also indicates statements attributed to him like, quote, I was protecting myself. I'm not alleged. I did it. And he put his hands on me. That helps explain his defense, but also places him directly in the act. The self-defense argument is the whole case. Witnesses reportedly said Austin touched, grabbed, shoved him before stabbing, and Karmelo's lawyer is expected to argue the state can disapprove self-defense. But here's the issue. Texas, deadly force, self-defense generally requires that the person reasonably believes deadly force was immediately necessary, not just that someone touched, grabbed, or shoved them. So the jury question becomes, was pulling a knife and stabbing someone in the chest a reasonable response to what was happening in that moment? That's where he's vulnerable. Says, my honest read is, yes, he's in major trouble. A full acquittal is possible if the jury buys self-defense, but based on the arrest report alone, the prosecution has a strong path to argue this was an overreaction with deadly force. The most realistic outcome are probably murder conviction, a lesser conviction like manslaughter, a plea deal, or acquittal on self-defense, but he's absolutely not walking into this without no risk. So I think there's going to be some problems, but we'll continue to peel back this story. I think tomorrow what we're going to do on part 2 is get more into the family interviews. So we'll hear from the Metcalf side. We're going to hear from the Karmelo Anthony side. We're going to play all those respected statements and news press conferences that they've said. So yeah, I hope you guys will come back tomorrow night and join me, most likely 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll do part 2 of the Karmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf case. And yeah, this is going to kick off on June 1st. Unfortunately, we're not going to have trial coverage that we'll be able to play and go through, but I'm going to tell you that I'm sure that a lot of this is going to leak out, and we're going to see a lot of it playing out on social media over the next couple of weeks, however long this case lasts. I'm not sure how long it's actually scheduled for, but I'll look into that tomorrow, get you an answer if it is out there. And I'm going to try to provide you guys with the best updates that I can, because this will be talked about. This is going to be a case that's going to be talked about extensively over the next couple of weeks. So it is something that I want to cover. And I have some other cases in mind too that are coming up that I want to start talking about as well too. So yes, there's been a major gag order, no audio and no video, which I think is complete bullshit in this case. I think it needs to be transparent for the families, for the community, for the world to see. And there should always be cameras in the courtroom to have transparency as to what happens in and around our justice system. And yeah, I'm pissed about that. I think it's bullshit. So look at this. 34 months, 34-month member. Thank you so much for being a 34-month member. Thank you for supporting me. Moderator, thank you, Diana. Appreciate it. 34-month member. So set your reminder. And I also want to let people know before you run out of here, I have, and if you haven't signed up on my website, and I'll drop the link for this, if you are not getting my YouTube alerts, I have an alert system now. It is a text alert. If you want to be informed via text, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Just click on the banner that says LTL Media live YouTube notifications, and you can sign up and get YouTube notifications. I've been doing them probably like 30 minutes out as a reminder to let you know to come over and check my channel out, and I will be live. I also want to do this before I get out of here, and I'll drop that link again. Do that, and you can check out all of my writings at ltlmedianews.com. I cover a lot of the Enrique Garcia case, and I'll be covering that again when the next hearing comes up. I believe it's in July 16th, I think it is. Also, I just want to recognize Beth, thank you so much for becoming a new member. LTG, thanks for the 5. We have Kim P, thanks for the £5. Tina, thank you for the support for the 5. Diana, thank you so much for the 5 as well. $20 from Karen. I appreciate that. Diana used her free membership drop. And I also want to say thank you to Natalie for the $20 on, was that Cash App or Venmo? On Venmo. Thank you. Use that to pay for my haircut tomorrow. And pay off my newly very expensive bed that I just went out and bought, and new bed frame. So I actually built the bed frame today. It looks great. It's right there, in my brand new bed, and I'm excited. So if you want to contribute to the bed fund, please do. If not, if you want to just support the show, that's fine. If not, you can come here and hang out for free, because this is a free channel. And that's the way it's always going to be. So thank you, everybody. Tomorrow night, part 2, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll hope you come over here and check this out. This is a very, very important case in our society. And I think there's a lot of lessons that can be learned here. Yes, I built it myself. And I didn't injure my arm, by the way. And even if I did, I wouldn't wear one of those stupid fucking things around my arm. Be a man. Anyway, I love all you guys. I'll be back here 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope that you'll join me. We're going to do part 2 tomorrow of all of the family interviews. We'll hear what they have to say on both sides. Give it some thought. Give us our thoughts. And that's it. All right. I love everybody. Oh, by the way, I've been on a health journey. I'm proud to say I'm down 7 pounds right now. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera. If you're noticing it, my overall goal is like 25. I want to get back down to 200, but I'm down 7 pounds in the last almost 2 weeks. So I'm losing it at a healthy rate. Changed my diet, dropped all the junk food, dropped soda. Believe it or not, I was drinking like 2 Diet Cokes a day and I haven't had any cravings. I dropped the Diet Cokes and I didn't get any headaches or anything. I didn't get any side effects from dropping the caffeine. Be eating super fucking clean. The only thing that I did spoil my diet was, while I had my stomach thing over the last couple of days, I was drinking a little bit of ginger ale to settle the stomach. But I'm feeling good. I'm noticing the change. I can see it in my face. I'm not as puffy as I was. And I still got, how much more I got to go here? I think like 16 pounds to go. And we're going to do it at a slow pace, a gradual, healthy pace. I've been hitting the gym. Like I said, I had some extensive vacation time. So I took like 3 weeks off. So I'm down 7. I got about another 15 to go. I'm at 231. It's really heavy for me. I like to be down in the 215 area, 208. So hopefully we'll get back there, and maybe we can inspire some people to start their health journey. But eat well, exercise. You got to do it at this older age. We can't eat like shit all the time. I was eating way too much fast food, fucking sugar, soda. Just not feeling well, and I'm feeling great besides this stomach virus I had over the last couple of days, but we're hanging in there. All right, I'm out of here. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all so much for your love and support, your memberships, my moderators, my subscribers. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Let me find my outro. Have a good night, everybody. Be kind, be well. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.